Morning, everybody. 8:12 a.m. May 11th. Hope everybody had a good Mother's Day. All right. My family had a good one, especially my wife. Now, our markets are nuts again, which they've been all pretty much this last couple months. So, Trump didn't like the proposal from Iran. Crude is up 3.25%. The markets don't really care too much. Now, this parabolic run by semis have continued. On Friday, technology specifically was up. Now, everybody knows I track internals, right? And when I track internals and sectors off the open, technology ended the day up 2.29% off the open. Semiconductors were up 2.71% off the open. AMD out of control. Micron, Intel, Qualcomm just out of control. This can keep going. Of course it can. Big, big divergence between the QQQ and the SPY. S&P 500, Nasdaq. Okay, Nasdaq 100, QQQ, Nasdaq futures. Okay, all kind of same thing. And ES just couldn't really move much because the rest of the market was not that strong. But the Nasdaq 100 is very narrow, right? Mainly tech stocks. So that was powering higher. And the markets aren't going to go down when tech is up. They can't. It's very hard. If tech was not up, we would have sold off on Friday, but we didn't. We didn't. Okay? So all we have really left, we have, let's see, Broadcom reporting. They're reporting on June 3rd, and we have Nvidia on May 20th. Okay? So when we have Nvidia, Broadcom still. After that, what will we see in the market? I don't know. AMD is up 2.2% already this morning. Qualcomm is up 5.44% this morning. The money flows into semis are out of control. Out of control. Okay? So, and Friday, just I had one short I tried. It started to work. And then unfortunately, I had some data issues or something while I was in the trade. And I went to break even, and my break even got hit. And the tech just couldn't get weak. All right. So I was trying to play that divergence. It was working, and then I got stopped break even. So still had a positive week. Can't complain about that. All right, let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile, volume profile, upon structure, and markets along with supply and demand. Gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. That's when I come up with game plans. Now, once that market opens up, I use my market internals to find what's going on, what's driving the markets off the open. All right, throw some ICT smart money concepts in there. Weekly expected move that you can get for free. Gamma flip points that I also provide for free in my Discord. Okay, Anchor VWAPs. Basically, my own proprietary system that I use to trade with. Okay, now hopefully you join me every morning. Subscribe, set that alert. Okay, give you the market story, the market news, the economic calendar, leaders and laggards, technical analysis, and I always leave you at the end of my stream with the long and short trade scenarios in the Nasdaq and the ES futures. All right, if you want more in-depth coverage, you are going to join my Discord. That is Confluence Trading. Okay, go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Okay. Now, let's get into the futures watch list here. This price action is pretty horrible in the overnights. Okay. VIX is up 5.82%. I don't even know if I put this graphic up. I'm going to put it up again if I didn't. Okay. So, we have a VIX that's up 5.82%. Crude is up 3.25. Silver's up 1.30. Bitcoin's up 1%. Ethereum up over half. 10-year yield's up almost a half percent. Dollar is slightly up. Nasdaq is down 0.08. Russell down 0.08. These are pretty much flat. ES down 0.12. Dow 0.14. 30-year bonds are being sold. And gold is down 1.1. That's pretty interesting. Gold is down and silver's up. All right. Now, X7 Plus here. AMD continues its meteoric rise. Now, it's probably one of my larger positions here, and I've been trimming. Right, I own this around $80, I think. I think I'm gonna wait. Obviously I could trim more. I think I'm gonna wait for some meaningful pullback to add. Might have to wait for that. We'll see. Okay. Boeing up 0.69, and then the rest pretty much in the red. So Meta's down over a half percent. Netflix down 0.63. Amazon down 0.69. Microsoft down 0.89. Broadcom down 1%. Google's down 1%. Tesla's down 1%. Okay. Now, top sectors. And every time I see this, it brings a little tear to my eye. Because Qualcomm is at 120, and I was supposed to add it position. But before earnings, I was like, do I add here? Not sure until they came out with earnings. And now money's flowing into them like crazy. It's over $110 over that 120. That 120. That was seems like it was like, whoa, was that 120s? It's up 5% again. It's up at 230 now. Chevron up 1.20%. Exxon up 1%. Who's negative today? The mining stock, NEM, down 1.21. Oracle down 1.91. Palantir down 2.10. Now, some softwares are getting hit this morning. Not all, but looks like Palantir, Oracle, Salesforce, Microsoft. ServiceNow is up. Palo Alto is down. So we have to see. Taiwan Semiconductor is down 2%. So very interesting this morning. Let's go to sectors. And of course, energy is up 1.26%. That is your leader. Nothing else to note really here. Your lagger is your discretionary. That's your Tesla, your Amazon, your Home Depots. Okay. Home Depot, obviously. All right. I think we can go on to the economic calendar here because there's a pretty decent economic calendar here this week. Today we have 10 a.m. existing home sales. Generally doesn't move the market, but I'll probably not put a trade on at 10 a.m. around 10 a.m. Tuesday, what do we have? We have CPI. Fed Goolsby. Wednesday, we have core PPI. More Fed speak. Thursday, initial jobless claims. More Fed speak. And Friday, looks like not much there. Okay. Let's see if there's some news here. We know Trump reject Iran's response to peace proposal. Let me see if there's anything else here. Let's move on. Let's see Trump's schedule. I didn't see anything here that he's meeting with Indiana national football champions. I really didn't see anything in here that was cause for concern other than him rejecting that proposal, which earlier on the market probably would have been down, but I think the market's just getting numb because we don't know what's going on, but we priced it in. All right, so more news. Trump dismisses Iran's reply to peace plan. Oil jumps as Hormuz closure persists. President Donald Trump's swift rejection of Iran's response to a U.S. peace proposal sent oil prices higher amid concerns a 10-week-old conflict will drag on, keep shipping through the Strait of Hormuz paralyzed. Trump and China's Xi set for talks spanning Iran and nuclear trade and AI. What else here? Short seller Andrew left to stand trial in LA over manipulation charges. AI labs should pass safety review to get U.S. government contracts. And let's see if there's anything else in here. I don't see anything here. Alrighty. Let's go to breadth because that breadth was not great on Friday. So let's go to breadth charts. Let's do our weekly roundup of the breadth. First, we're going to start off with your 20-day moving average. So look at that. Weakening, right? That's the way our market is, right? Because it's a market cap weighted index. So this little breadth reading, percentage of stocks in the S&P 500, so figure 500 stocks, only 43% are above their 20-day moving average. Remember, that's a faster moving average. Now we go to a slower moving average, 50%. So in the overall market, the market's just 50% over the 50-day moving average. That's not very super strong. Obviously 50%. Cut in the middle, right? Now, go to Bolt's Percent Index. Remember, they use point and figure charts. It's not time-based. It's just a really good, tells you how much percent of the S&P 500 is on buy signals. 58%. 58% in the S&P 500. That's not very crazily strong. We know this is narrow, though. So let's look at the NDX. 67%. That makes sense. 67% of the index on buy signals. Getting a little frothy here. Getting a little frothy. See, we're over this little, this one brought us down, 67. So once this gets up into 80s, 70s, it's pretty overcooked here. But you just don't short on that, okay? Just a data point. Now, we drill in to the actual technology sector. Woo! That is overbought, my friends. 80% on buy signals. 80% of the technology sector is on buy signals. It's getting overcooked, okay? Now, we'll just go in order of sector weight, which would bring us to financials. That has been weakening. Notice we just saw technology at 80% on buy signals, or up there. We go to the next largest market cap weighted sector in the S&P 500. It's only at 60 and dropping. Okay? Notice. Now, number 3 is communications. Communications now is the number 3 in the weightings. That I got a little love at 60% on buy signals. So 60. So still technology showing us heavy money flows. Now, discretionary, Tesla, your Amazon, your Home Depot, that has been dropping. This makes sense. Okay? Gas is expensive. And what happens is discretionary stuff is exactly what it is, discretionary buying. People aren't going to go into buy stuff like that, Tesla, your Amazon, Home Depot, if, money is hard to come by and gas is up, right? So that makes sense. So now we have financials falling, discretionary falling, communications kind of middling, right? And we will go to industrials and we'll end with healthcare. So we'll go to industrials. This is your GE, your Uber. Oop. This is your Boeing. There we go. Yeah, that is also weakening. See that? Only 48%. Let's end with healthcare. Healthcare is also not that strong. Hence, you can see what's holding up our markets, right? Obviously, we just go to semis. Look at that move. Wow, wow, wow. March 30th of this year, you were at 360 or at 566. Okay? That is insane. Is very, very, very insane. Okay? So, does the rest of the market join the party? Or does money flow into the rest of the market and out of tech? I would guess that's probably what's going to happen. People are going to get out of tech, and once it starts falling, people are going to rotate into those other plays that are weak. Okay? Moving on. Let's go to those market internals. Right? Little market internal recap here. The big divergence you'll see here. So, right off the bat, right? That white line is equal weight. That is your basically your RSP, ticker RSP. Look at that white line at the end of the day. Just so divergent from the market cap. And this is all that matters. Technology, which is now probably over 36 and change percent of the market cap weight, was up 2.31% from the open. That is monster. Look at the rest. Financials down. Everything was down but tech. That's how strong tech is. Okay? Nothing is strong about these numbers, but that's all that matters. All right? Now, dailies. Let's go to those daily charts here. Okay. So, new all-time highs, right? Higher low. You got higher lows all the way back from here. Okay? Now, we are at 736.67. Right about here. So almost 50% the midpoint, pretty much at the midpoint of Friday's range. Let's look at futures. All right, so we're looking like a balance area is forming. Okay, we didn't take out this high, kind of a doji. Okay, there's last week's highs, last week's lows. This 9 EMA daily has not been touched for a while. And this was a timed based touch here, not a price based touch. It was just time on here. It never dropped. So very interesting here. Okay, Qs. This is just insanity here. Look at that move. Okay. Big move on Friday. Where are we now? 710. 710, right up at the highs. All right, so there's your Qs. Let's look at the NASDAQ futures. Okay. Big, big day. Now you have kind of a demand zone here. That would probably be my best guess if we do pull back. That's probably going to give some problems to shorts. I'm just going to put that on my chart here, right there, just to have it as a reference. Okay, doji candle here. You look, so the NASDAQ actually did breach these highs. Doji. You might bring yourself down today. I don't know. I mean, be lying if I know. Nobody knows this nuts market. Okay. Now, let's go over those hourly charts here. Which is horrendous price action right now. Horrendous. Really not an interesting price action right now. Okay, so here's your hourly charts here. So, what do we have? Right? So this was Friday. And look at this range. then we boop opened up, gap down with Trump rejecting the proposal, and then people are like, oh, let me buy that dip, and then it's just been literally a barcode. There's not anything going on. Now, some notables here: 74.20s are now your most traded price of the week. That's pretty bullish. That is bullish. We are underneath it, but the fact that they brought it up here is bullish. Okay, you have some demand here around the 74.01s, and it's just horrible price action. Okay, so if you break the 73.90s, you don't have the best structure down to about, well, you have demand at 73.83s. Okay, but then below that, this could get taken out. This poor structure here, but as long as you stay up here, it's bullish. I mean, you can't see anything but it's bullish. So what I want to do is throw a volume profile just to see where our pockets of volume are. Now notice this is the most traded price of Friday, the most traded price of this, of the week, right here. Now notice if we stay under it, keep rejecting it, that could be a move down to the 73.90s. Okay, you do have a low volume node at 74.05. That looks like it's a pivot level. Okay, now low volume nodes act as support and resistance, or it can get really blown through. Okay, and the high volume nodes act as like walls, magnets, right? That's where the high volume is. So pretty ugly profile, if you ask me. All right, if we just go by here in time, boom, you can see all the volumes up here. Okay. So, like I said, very ugly price action. It's not anything exciting, or even it gets me excited to trade, which is unfortunate. All right, let's go to the NASDAQ. Now, NASDAQ has a different chart, right? It was just so relatively strong. And what is it doing? Just holding. Now, the most traded price of the week has still not moved, which that's a warning sign. Okay, we'll get into that when I get into the market profile and volume profile, but you do have poor structure here. Okay, this little stick here is being held up here. You need to, this is bullish, but if there's any sign of weakness, this is going to get taken right back away. Okay, so around the 287s is still your most traded price of the week. The market needs to move it up here now. The most traded price of Friday is here, right? That level is around 29284s. Now, I don't know. Maybe the market wants to hit 30,000 before we get, I don't know. I have no clue. I thought 29,000 might have been at some psychological. It was not. Okay. So really, you got support here at around the 29237s. If you lose that and you don't get support here, yeah, this is going to be taken back. I don't know what's going to happen, though, obviously. Okay, there's your last week's highs right there. So this is bullish right now. You really can't say it's not. Who would deny that? Okay, semis are up 0.37% this morning. Not the monstrous, but AMD's up 2.29 and your Qualcomm's up 6.85. Okay, that is your hourly charts. Now we're going to move on to the market profile and volume profile. Like I said, this is not exciting price action. Really, it's not. Typical Monday morning. All right, let's look at this together now. This is your ES. This is your market profile and volume profile here. Again, for anybody who's new, every black shaded area is the regular time trading hours. Every lighter shaded area is the overnight sessions. I love it because they're separated here. All right. Now, you can see, let's get right into actually the ES long and short trade scenarios here. Okay. Let's break out the overnight session. So, what do we have here? Okay. What we have here is where you don't really want to be. So the midpoint of Friday is right around the 74.10s. Pretty much the overnights are right there. You're in the middle of Friday session. Ugh, not a good area to be. Okay, well, so what we want the market to do is do inside out, and it will. The market will move inside out right now. You're in the middle of Friday. You're going to test either Friday's highs or Friday's lows. That will happen today because you're just in too much in the middle of the middle. I don't like to be there. It's just not a smart area to trade. Okay, but we do have though is 74.20 is your most traded price of the week. You can look at that as some kind of wall. Okay. Also Friday's most traded price. So if we stay under that, right, that could cause some selling to come in. Now you have a confluence low here on the 73.90s now, right? You got Friday's lows and the overnight lows. So this becomes a key support. Key support. So let's get into it. All right. I think it's fairly simple. Let's do longs. Okay. So a couple things. If the momentum's going to stay here, right? What would I like to see? Two ways here. If we drop down and test the 73.90s, right? You got that's the end of the demand zone here. It's a key support level. If you come down here and sweep that, go back into the range, put in a higher low, and the market's not that weak, you're going to go and target the overnight highs, 74.20s, which opens to be the most traded price of the week. If you pop above that, you're going to target 74.27's Friday's highs. Okay? And then maybe you pull back and ride that up into all-time high territory. Second one, that if you get love off the open, right? If you push up, break Friday's highs, and then you retest the 74.20s. That is also could be a long if the market is still holding tech up. Tech is like leading, and you also ride that into all-time high territory. Okay, that's what I'm seeing for longs. Shorts. Okay, pretty easy here. Okay, what could I see? Well, we know we have 74.20. We know we have overnight highs there. So what I'd like to see is whoop, take out that overnight high, right? Come back through the most traded price of the week, 74.20s, retest 74.20s from the backside. Short, you target that 73.90s, right? I want to hold the runner. See if you could take this down. Okay. Maybe down to 73.60s. That's pretty classic short there. Now, on the second one, might be a little more difficult. What you can see is this rip up, make new all-time highs, right? Then, let's see you come back into range, make the lower high, maybe even try an entry at 74.27, last week's highs. That's Friday's highs. Hold on a second, folks. All right, sorry about that. So you could short at 74.27, last week's highs, Friday's highs, and try to ride that down. Okay, and take, target those 73.90s and see if you can get a runner to go lower. That I think is a little tougher of a short. All right, I really want to see a retest of the 74.20s. That would be my preferred. Okay. Let's move on to the NASDAQ. Very different chart here. Very different. Okay? You're holding the highs Friday, holding the most traded price of Friday. You can see here the most traded price of the week is still down here around the 287s. Remember what I said. The market needs to have value follow price up here. If that most traded price of the week moves up here to the 28930s, the market has done its job and it's found acceptance up here at higher prices. If it does not, it returns back to value. Okay? So we have a very balanced profile here. So let's mark off some levels. Let's get started on scenarios here. Your NASDAQ long and short trade scenarios. Okay, we're going to break out this session. It's very, very balanced on the overnight. Okay. Pretty simple here. A little tight range in the NASDAQ here. So what we're going to mark off is the 50% retracement of Friday's range. 29123 is your midpoint. Mark that off. Mark that off. Now we do have an overnight highs or a real time, an all-time highs in the overnights right now. It's generally not secure. And we're going to mark off the most traded price of Friday, which is 29285. And what's good about where this price is, it lines up with the overnight like support here. So that can very well cause a flush lower, which it might even do it now. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. Hold on. Right here. The price is right there now. So even as I'm speaking, the volume from Friday is your most traded price. If you get some break of this, it's going to cause probably some flush. Okay? Now, if it doesn't, it's bullish, but that's why I'm putting a level there. Okay? Now, once you get underneath this 50% retracement, you have that poor structure I talked about. You do have a bullish FEG starting at a bullish fair value gap at 29073. If that's supportive, it's bullish, but if the market starts to roll over, that structure that will get wiped out. Okay? So, starting off, okay, we're going to start off with the bull case, which would be, okay, there's a couple here. There might even be three. Okay? If the market opens up, pushes lower, breaks the overnight lows, the 2922s, okay, and let's say it recovers and retests that most traded price of the week, which is the 29285s, okay, it's probably a long. You target overnight highs, 29402s, and see if you can ride into the all-time high territory again. Maybe semis are leading again. Okay? Now, here's the next one. Okay? If the market comes up and breaks the overnight highs, right? And let's say it starts finding acceptance up here. You also wait for a pullback to go long into all-time high territory. Hence, where the bulls have control, right? I don't know if semis are going to be weak today or tech is going to be weak. I don't know. We don't know. The day will come that it will happen. Okay. Now, the only other thing that I'd be interested in, I would like to see a quick flush past the midpoint. Now, if the midpoint might hold, but let's just say if it goes past it and dips into this bullish fair value gap. Okay. If that's supportive, you get one of these. Then you get the higher low. You go long, targeting the overnight highs, 29402s. This has to be quick, though. It cannot meander down here, right? I don't want the market to get momentum of being weak. I want it to quickly move down there, and then that's just the dip to buy. Okay? That's your longs. Let's talk about the shorts. Okay, a couple ones here. So, number one, oh, some strong sellers coming in the market. That was a rip down right there. Don't sure what just happened. Getting a lot of pulsating here. So I'm going to just talk about it anyway, because remember I said that this can flush through this overnight right now, this support and the most traded price of Friday, right? If this gets momentum, it's going to come down, okay? So one thing that I'd like to see is if this is even here, but we got to talk about it. If you winded up breaking that support and retesting the most traded price of the week, I keep forgetting what that level is, around the 29283s, okay? You get that retest in that market, that Nasdaq, that the technology is weak, you short that. Okay. What I would say, a safe target, you could take it off at the 29123s. Okay, that's your midpoint, or go for that bullish for value gap. Right now, if there's real momentum to the downside, this bullish for value gap will not stand a chance, and you have single prints here. Okay, you most likely will but eventually test Friday's lows, 28863s. Now, if the momentum's super strong, you're going to go all the way down to the most traded price of the week, 28675s. Okay. Now, if the market drives up, makes new all-time highs. However, let's say does this fairly quickly and nothing super strong in the markets, and you're like, this is not very strong. Internals. Let's say you go back into range, close, put in that lower high. That's your short. All right. You target overnight lows, 29222s, and then see if you can ride that momentum down to Friday's lows, 28863, and then eventually down to the most traded price of the week, 28675s. It's Monday. I'm not holding my breath. Okay. But that's what we're looking at. Now, my market outlook overall. Okay. So, currently, well, I'm looking at the ES right now. So, currently, the ES just kind of sold off a little bit. Okay. We're still at the midpoint of the overnight. We're still at the midpoint of Friday's session. So, very middling, a very poor location. Remember, I said we're going to test Friday's highs or Friday's lows. It's going to happen. And then you got to act accordingly. The hard trade is the inside out trade. When you just trade, you go long or short from the middle. Sure, it's a coin flip though. It's not a very high probability trade. Okay? You can't have a lot of edge because it's basically a coin flip. So we're going to look for the edges to try to fade the edges or go with weakness or strength. Okay? Remember, I showed you earlier today. The money flows are going into semis, they're going into memory, they're going into, that's part of the technology sector. That's what drives our markets. We're probably up to 36, 37% of the market cap weight now in the S&P 500. Where XLK goes, generally where the market goes. So if XLK is weak, okay, most likely we go a little down. If XLK is weak and the rest of the sectors are weak, we're going to take a ride lower. All right. Now, we know the story has been semiconductors driving tech, right? And some memory like SanDisk. So, does the momentum continue? We don't know. It's going to have a nasty pullback eventually. Nobody just knows the timing of it. But remember, what I'm looking at right now in your NASDAQ is that most traded price of the week, the 29283s. We're right there right now. I'm sorry, it's the most traded price of Friday. And it's a key support in the overnight. Okay? That to me is your mini line in the sand for the NASDAQ. Acceptance below it, probably go down lower. Acceptance above it, we probably hit new all-time highs. And again, I don't know. That's the beauty why I use market internals. because I have to see what's driving the markets off the open. I don't care what it did at the close compared to the close of Friday. I want to know what it does off the open. Where's money going today? Okay, because if something's really strong off the open, but yet the close, um, let's say it's still below the close of Friday, it doesn't matter. The money's flowing in that now. Okay, so that's my outlook on the markets. Also Monday. All right. Now, if you'll join that analysis, smash the like button. That'd be much appreciated. Much appreciated. Now remember, I do this every morning, and hopefully you join me. Subscribe, set that alert. Do this every morning. Give you the market story, the market news, the economic calendar, leaders and laggards, technical analysis, and I just gave you the long and short trade scenarios in an ES and the Nasdaq futures. If you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord, Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. All right, I should be going live today about 9:45 a.m. Please come join. Come ask questions. Okay, I look forward to it. I will not steer you wrong. Trust me. All right. So that's it, folks. We have the plan. It is Monday. The price action's garbage right now. Okay, it is garbage. But we have a plan. We have a process. Okay. Remember, no trade is a trade. Hope everybody has a good day. Hopefully it's a green one or a flat. Okay. And I hope to see you in my room and Discord. If I don't see you in there, I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Take it easy.